we start the video, I just want to let you know that I do have a Patreon, and it's the only way to keep this channel alive. If you want to be a member of my Patreon, it's in the link in the description down below. In order to react to videos like these, since this is a Patreon requested video, I have to let you guys know, you only be a member, you have to be a Hobidon hero or a Hobidon protector on my Patreon. This allows you to request for videos in the future and maybe some artwork. That's all I have to say. I hope you guys get the message, and like I said, if you want to request a video, you got to be a member on my Patreon. That's the only way to do so. And it's in this link in the description down below. Now, enough of that. Let's get on to the reaction, shall we? And I hope you enjoyed the video. Take care, and let's get this started. What is up, YouTube? Frost the Hobidon here, and today I'm back with another reaction video for every single one of y'all. And today this is a Patreon request, and it's a Superman versus Aliens issue 1. This one I might have heard of something like this. I think I might have requested to do something like this, but I'm not sure if I have. It was requested by Nevin Punzel, and since his birthday is coming up this month, I thought, happy birthday to Nevin Punzel. This is your requested video. Plus, I'm a fan of Superman and crossovers with him with the Aliens franchise. I'm sure that's gonna be fun. So, if you haven't checked out the original video, I will leave a link in the description down below, so you guys go check it out for yourself, and then come back and see my reaction to it. That enough said, without further ado, let's get on to this reaction, shall we? In 3, 2, 1, go.
Winter of '83, my analog horror movie, is now available physically or digitally. Click the link below to get 3 additional segments and director's commentary.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. A few years ago, I decided to take a look at an unusual crossover between Batman and Aliens. It was pretty good, actually. It had a few silly moments, to be sure, but the art and writing did a phenomenal job creating a claustrophobic, atmospheric horror story featuring the Dark Knight.
Anything Batman related always somehow going to be somewhat good.
Pairing, especially in how well it turned out, but sadly I was unable to find behind-the-scenes info about how it came about. Although that's partly because I assumed the book was the first collaboration between DC and Dark Horse on a crossover like this. Nope, actually it was several books in at that point. The first of these, crossing over Batman and the Predator, is actually something I'm planning on looking at later this year, so keep an eye out for that, assuming I don't have to cancel it for stupid scheduling reasons. But what's funny is that even before the Dark Knight fought the
you probably already got it done anyway, so
Superman took them on first. So let's dig into Superman vs. Aliens #1 and see how an even more unlikely pairing went down.
Okay, let's see how this goes. If Superman did it first, then there must be some success to it, right? Theme song, go. Stop the fourth wall, bad comics burn. I was gonna take you all, a lesson you all learn. Publish, it can be your turn. He's on a ship, but it's somewhat on his couch. He makes his own story while doing these reviews. I like it. Linkara. No, no, not this art. Anything but this art. Come on. Then again, when it comes to Superman versus something, it's always something. Not really much. It always turn out bad in certain ways. Batman v Superman and all that.
The cover is fine, not that great in my opinion. Depicting the Xenomorph in the background just kind of staring at a wall with its arms by its side while Superman floats over it. Or maybe this is actually a kaiju Xenomorph and Clark here is looking for it, and it's going to be hilarious when that thing turns and hits him with its giant head. We open in Earth orbit. Not so long ago in our history, events that transpired in the silent vacuum of space went unnoticed by man. Like an acid vapor putting a hole in the moon. Thanks, Marvel Man!
Come
Times
on.
change. Now we
How
stare at
much time has
space like a
changed?
creepy voyeur. Something falls towards Earth. Satellites were launched into orbit to act as sentries, ever alert for approaching interlopers. The mission was a simple one. And still they
Simple.
managed to screw it up. You had one job. No, the
Yeah.
LexCorp satellites detect the object falling to Earth and alert one Dr. Kimball about it. Soon we see Lois and Clark, with the good Mr. Kent looking particularly snazzy in a
It's a nice looking suit for Clark Kent. I would not know if that was Clark Kent or not because he looks so different. And of course, Lois Lane with brown hair. I grew up with Lois Lane having black hair for some reason, but people have been pushing that Lois Lane should have brown hair motif.
blue tie on a black shirt with a gray suit, being called to LexCorp. They give some exposition that this takes place during a time when Luthor himself was no longer in charge of the company. And that's always a weird thing, isn't
Especially
it?
the
While not
especially the
under the
Snyderverse. They always
branding,
went
this is
Lois with brown hair in the
technically an
Snyderverse.
Elseworld story. You don't have to adhere that closely to canon for what was going on in DC at the time. In any case, the two were summoned here because of the aforementioned Dr. Kimball, who runs LexCorp's space program, one so vast that it apparently exceeds NASA. And while Lex may use his space program to try to find new ways to kill Superman or more ways to become powerful, he's at least
Yeah.
not launching cars into space with it. And yet, despite its
Wow.
size, said space program is very secretive. Okay, maybe they are launching cars into space, they just have the good sense not to publicize it.
You know that you're not. You might be right. You might be onto something. And it's true.
Dr. Kimball meets them at the helipad. I am Dr. Cheryl Kimball, and I am about to give you the story of
The
the
shoulders
year.
of this woman.
Helicopters that can go into space. But how do the helicopter blades keep them moving out there? LexCorp helicopters can now move space air.
You know, if it's Lex Luthor, he'll probably find a way to make something that possible. I mean, it's the DC universe. This is Lex. People forget Lex Luthor is a genius, and there are a lot of geniuses in the DC universe. It's just that whenever Batman steps in, everyone is dumb because Batman has to be the smartest of all. I never liked that trope when it comes to writing. It's really stupid.
She explains how they've intercepted an object falling into the atmosphere and they're on their way to meet it where it lands. But, Doctor, what if this object has a hostile intent? Science and research should never be regarded in terms of benevolence or malevolence. The only thing that matters is discovery itself. So when the alien killing machine bisects you along the waist, you should feel really happy about what amazing discoveries you've made. It always kills me to see a character like this.
Wow.
I won't call it unrealistic because the
Yeah.
last decade has proven to us that parody and cartoonish villainy is quite realistic, but it always
Yeah.
baffles me to see a scientist right out of the gate not giving a crap if something they discover is dangerous. Like, what's their end game? Some horrible alien virus or something wipes out all the scientists under her employ, then she puts out a research paper about the incident completely disconnected from it emotionally.
Yeah, mostly for entertainment reasons, honestly. There will always be some type of characters in these type of stories. But yeah, it can be annoying depending on whoever's writing it. But hey, who knows? But it all depends on whoever's writing it.
And when she gets pushback, her only response is,
Why? Because it's science, that's why.
Anyway, she admits that she didn't want reporters on this trip, but the higher-ups in LexCorp think it's best to reveal their discoveries right away. She explains that they've also picked up transmissions coming from the object. It's garbled, almost unintelligible, but I think you might find it interesting. Drink
Really now?
more Ovaltine. Actually, when Clark listens to it, he recognizes it as Kryptonian. Kimball does not know that, nor does she know that Clark is Superman, so why would they find the unintelligible alien language interesting? In any case, Clark can't make out what it's saying, and Kimball says that their computers are working on decoding it. Wanting
Really?
to get a first look at the pod before LexCorp can, Clark uses his heat vision on some of the controls, forcing the helicopter to land a little early. It's nothing that would threaten their
Okay.
lives, just enough to overheat the systems, which still seems kind of dangerous, but there you go. They land on a nearby beach where the helicopter pilot works to get the thing back up and running.
I'm just listening to the story right now. Sorry if I'm not speaking too much, but hey, I'm just listening to the story. I mean, I mean, I got to because it is part. It is the reason why to. So continue.
Clark claims to go looking for help over the objection of said pilot, but Lois says to pay no mind to him, because when he sets his mind on something, he does it. Lois, I've set my mind on investing in Quibi. I think now's the right time. He quickly changes into Superman and flies out to the craft, wondering if someone's inside. It hits the atmosphere at the wrong angle, so it's burning up hard, forcing Superman to try to catch it and guide it into the water. He spots some Kryptonian markings and quickly deduces that it's unmanned, thankfully, and that it feels similar to the Matrix chamber that first brought him to Earth. What?
Matrix chamber. Where have I heard that before when it comes to Where have I heard that before?
What's that? Is it time yet again for my most unused segment, especially in light of people actually liking to know this stuff? Why, yes, it's time for comic history you don't care about but need to know in order to understand this. Post-Crisis on Infinite Earths, it was explained in Superman's new origin that instead of being a baby when he was sent to Earth, he was actually still a developing fetus via a Kryptonian birthing matrix and wasn't technically born until he arrived in Kansas. I read back in the day that this was because John Byrne wanted him unequivocally to be an American citizen and thus needed to be born on American soil, though I don't know how accurate that is, or if it's just a rumor. I do know the original pitch he had would have had him literally being born on Earth from his mother, who dies from kryptonite poisoning shortly after arriving. But yes, the birthing matrix is a thing that would persist through the 90s and well into the 2000s, until yet another origin came along that made him a baby again the whole trip. Anyway, the thing is heavily damaged, and Superman deposits it on the deck of a LexCorp ship. LexCorp has official rules that says we ain't supposed to talk to you. But I gotta say, it's a real honor to have you on my boat. Though I wish you weren't putting the garbage we just dumped in the ocean back on it. Superman orders them to stay back in case the thing blows up, but he feels compelled to touch it. One would assume he already was, since he had to carry it to the boat. But no, in this case, it activates some kind of telepathic circuitry that beams fragments of messages and images into his brain. What do you...
Of course, why not? Why would it do that? Of course, it's images to your mind. Oh my goodness, it makes no. This is weird.
He gathers is that a group of scientists knew about Krypton's impending destruction and had their own solution for survival, building a giant dome over their city, planting key explosive charges in parts of their geography, and then when the planet blew up, the charges instead helped propel them out into space intact. Of course! Don't you know anything about science? The city's resources are dwindling and they need help, providing a general direction on how to get to it. The pod's power dies before he can get any more, though that's a lot already. Kimball's helicopter finally arrives. Superman, what the hell have you done to my discovery? Since you touched it, I can't even claim it was damaged in shipping. Superman explains about the message and how if he hadn't interfered, said message would have been lost. Kimball is an arrogant jackass and ignores that part, simply wanting to know what the message was. Superman rightfully does not trust her with the Kryptonian connection, simply saying that it's a distress buoy and that the remnants of a city need their help. Kimball, ever the humanitarian, points out that they have ships that can provide help to them, as long as they're willing to exchange their technology for it. Superman, however, says that no one is going but him, and she's going to need to recognize that if they're going to work something out. It takes 2 days for the arrangements and deal to be made. In exchange for transport to the city, she gets first look at all the technology he brings back. I agree, praying I won't bring back anything LexCorp can turn into weaponry. Superman successfully brings back a Kryptonian bidet. On the space...
You know they will, Superman. I know you have hope. You hold on to hope to a lot of people. But let's be honest. This is Lex Luthor we're talking about. Anything that is Kryptonian technology, he will do whatever he can to use it to kill you. I mean, it's Lex Luthor for crying out loud.
Station where they're launching the ship, Lois will be there to report anything that happens to the world, and Kimball, in a minor moment of real humanity for her character, admits to Superman that she's envious of him because she's always dreamed of traveling through space to another planet. Both she and Lois beg him to come along, but he insists he has to do it alone. LexCorp and Superman have never been the best of friends, but still,
you're right about that.
Success. Well, thank you, Doctor. Okay, I guess I can bring you back one laser gun. After Superman leaves, Lois asks Kimball why she's so driven. She explains that LexCorp has always been on the cutting edge of technology, and you only stay on top of the company by continuing to push that edge further. I need this, Lane. I won't stop at anything to get it. Great, Superman is running all over the cosmos trying to save lives, while your primary interest is corporate profit.
Pretty
Yes,
much.
Lois. Are you
That's
new to
the
this
idea.
country? Or this company? And this waking nightmare we live in? On the way to the city, Superman takes time to reflect on how, even if
That's
there
pretty
are
much
other
the idea of
Kryptonians out
LexCorp.
there, he sees himself as a human and native of Earth first, thanks to the Kents finding him and raising him. However, he also thinks back to the
Yeah, the thing about Superman, he always sees himself as human. He wasn't raised on Krypton. He was raised on Earth. Earth is his home, but he still respects his Kryptonian heritage when he learns about it. That he knew that his father, his real father, Jor-El and Laura, sent him to Earth so that he would live a happy life. They hope that only wish for the best for his son. And Superman, Clark would not be Superman. He gets the name Superman because of Lois. That's what she titled it. He never usually called himself Superman. Clark would never been a good person if the Kent family weren't nice. The Kent family are the most wholesome people there. They are the reason why Superman is a good They're the reason why Superman is a good person. I hated that Zack Snyder does so that Superman's only a hero because Lois Lane is alive, and if she dies, Superman turns evil, just like the Injustice games. I really hate that Lois Lane is the reason he's a hero. You know, he's a hero. Even there are stories where Superman has lost Lois Lane, and he still remained a hero. Kingdom Come. Kingdom Come is one of them. He was crossing that line between being a hero. Almost lost it when he saw so much death, but it took one man to remind him that, that he is a hero. But yes, that's what pretty much what the main point about the character of the Man of Steel. And it's not always one person that keeps him heroic. It's he always is it's the type of people he's around with, and people always forget that. Let's get on to it.
the other time you met Kryptonians, ones from a pocket universe that laid waste to
Uh,
their version of Earth.
oh yeah,
This
this
is
version
another
of
bit of
General
heavy
Zod.
continuity that they certainly did not need to bring up, but there is a point with it.
This version was the first design of General Zod. He just looks like a normal military person.
You see, this is one of those examples where Superman has killed. There was no one left on their Earth to pass judgment on these three monsters, so Superman exposed them to their version of kryptonite.
This is
I've said it before,
pre-crisis.
particularly in relation to the Man of Steel review, but I hate this plot point, and I'm glad that it seems to have been retconned away after, like, 3 or 4 other retcons now in the
Yeah, I have to agree with him on that. I hated the idea of Superman killing people. I always hated it. And this was from that scene of Superman killing Zod and his three followers. That was from the pre-crisis, very, very old days of Superman before the modern Superman was. I always hated that design. I always hated that concept. And another reason why I hated Zack Snyder's take of the Man of Steel. But hey, but I'm not going to blame the actor. I only blame the writing. I only blame the writing, not the actor. Because Henry Cavill is a great Superman. You just need to get the right people who knows what they're doing.
DCU, though who knows anymore. The difference, of course, between this and Man of Steel is illustrated by Superman's words, though. Killing those people was the worst thing I ever did. I was in agony, tortured to the soul. Though the people I killed only existed at the whims of a being known as the Time Trapper, I had betrayed the core of my being. I'm no killer. It's a measure of desperate that I will never resort to again, no matter how deadly the threat. They used it at least for character development and a firm declaration of, I will never do this again.
That makes
Man of
sense.
Steel had him scream once and then never mention it again, get over it, and he may have killed more people in Batman v Superman.
Pretty much, yeah. I like how the comics that pre-crisis Superman, before the crisis of Infinite Earths, that he did kill, and he's admitted it. It was the worst day of his life, and he talked about it. We hear his thoughts. We hear him say that he never wants to kill ever again, and he motivates himself. And he never actually, and he kept his word. He never kills people. He'll never kill again until the reboot happened, where Crisis of Infinite Earths, post-crisis Superman, that version, which is the modern Superman, Bronze Age Superman, basically, he never killed at all. Bronze or Silver Age. I don't think Silver Age he ever killed either. And but like I said, like you said in Man of Steel, he killed Zod, screams, and then act like nothing happened, and later on killed more people. Like he killed that military soldier. He ran full speed into that terrorist group holding a gun at Lois. I'm sorry, that terrorist leader is dead. You can't say Superman didn't kill him. He's dead. And people say he lasered people to death in Batman v Superman. That was a dream sequence of Zack Snyder's version of Injustice. It's weird. It's he said he was inspired by the Injustice games when he made that scene.
We don't know because they don't say.
I wouldn't be surprised if
but
he
you might
did,
want to ask that
true or not.
warlord he tackled. If we can. But yeah, like I've said, weird that
That's
this
what I meant, that
non-canon
warlord.
crossover is so full of continuity drops. Anyway, he arrives at the city and lands on the outskirts of the dome. There's a small bit of atmosphere, probably artificially generated, and Supes flies out to get closer. He admits that he can already start to feel his body's a bit weaker since they're not near any sun. The lack of sunlight will continue to depower him as he goes.
Where's the alien?
That's consequently a good call by the creators of this because, let's face it, Batman facing xenomorphs is tense because, despite his abilities, he's still a normal human.
That is true.
Superman versus xenomorphs normally should be him blasting them with heat vision from a distance and maybe using a face hugger as a flail against them. The city seems dead, no sounds or power generation coming from it. He soon finds a hatch with scratches and claw marks on it, X-ray vision revealing a bunch of rubble piled up on the other side as a crude barrier. He soon finds a vehicle. A bus? Looks like it tried to crash its way out, and ended up doing a high dive off Dead Man's Curve. Geez, you tell the driver he's running 2 stops behind schedule and he takes it personally. So what were they running from? Blood. They were running from blood! Of course! I'm not the first one who's been here. Someone's already licked up most of it before I could. He hears a moaning noise from inside the bus and realizes there are still survivors inside. He quickly finds 4 unconscious people who need help. Realizing their only chance for survival is Earth, he loads them up on the ship and programs the autopilot to return it to them. He informs Dr. Kimball of this. This is not a MASH unit. I want the technology, Superman, not the patients. Putting aside that kind of a dickish attitude, you realize that these people might know how to build more of their technology, right?
Yeah, you want the technology, and despite not knowing how it works, would you rather have the people who knows how to build that technology, and they can help you out and understand it for you? I'm just saying, you got to think smarter, not harder.
He tells them to send the ship back after offloading the patients, but Lois points out he'll be stranded. Admittedly, it might have been smarter for him to go back with the ship to ensure its safe arrival, plus recharge his cells, but I figure his logic is that he needs to stick around and figure out what happened here, especially if there are more people who need help. He can at least let any other survivors know that rescue is coming. Deciding to explore more of the city, he finds some dead facehuggers. Interesting. Some kind of crab. Bet this would go great with butter. Even though this entire rock has a delicate atmosphere, the city
I don't think the idea of eating that stuff was a good idea.
I don't want to upset it by crashing my way in. The indirect approach seems more practical. I'll tunnel my way right under the barrier and into the middle of the city. This place is very delicate. I'd better smash my way through a part of it. As he goes down, though, he discovers a cavern full of xenomorph eggs. Some kind of strange rock formations, systematic in organization, yet organic in appearance. Yeah! Because they're organic eggs! Nothing like that on the Krypton I've learned about. I mean, maybe in the red light district. More and more, this place seems to reek of death. Really, Superman? What was the first hint of that? The dead bodies, perhaps? We see a xenomorph stalking him as he comes across some of their blood. He's still strong enough that while the acid burns his skin a bit, it doesn't do any worse than that. The xenomorph leaps out at him in a 2-page
Finally, the
spread.
xenomorph,
He manages to toss it away. No matter, though. Looks fairly harmless. Okay, between this and the rocks thing, I'm starting to think his eyesight is starting to go along with his powers. I mean, even ignoring the serrated tail, the thing has clawed hands and fangs. Not dangerous to Superman under normal circumstances, perhaps, but nothing about it screams fairly harmless.
Yeah, it's Superman. It's not harmless to him at all. He would say something. This version would say something like that. I'm pretty sure we're making our own version of the DC universe. The DC universe. Oh man, I'd probably write a story or something like this one day, and realize, okay, if I ever wrote my version of Superman, he'll go, okay, claws, fangs. Yeah, this looks dangerous. Not to me, but for the other people, can't let that happen. Not
In any
a
case, a more reasonable moment happens here. Regardless of it looking dangerous, it might still be intelligent and reasonable, so Superman tries to communicate with it. I know you've never seen me before, but I'm no threat. I'm here looking for other beings who look like me. Well, cool, Superman, but according to the artwork in this panel, that means you're looking for unfrozen caveman lawyer.
I did not know that. And he does look like a caveman lawyer. He does like, oh man, and maybe it's because the art in this and the face expressions. It might have threw me off on that.
Superman acknowledges that the xenomorph may not be intelligent enough to understand speech, but more importantly, the creature is able to cut him with its claws. He admits he hates just punching out something that's probably just protecting its territory, but given the circumstances, he lays it out for 2 seconds before it attacks him again. You should have quit while you had the chance. I can keep your jaws propped open until...
It's a
My
second mouth.
God! Your dental work is amazing! The extra jaw bites his forehead, forcing Clark to try to wound the alien enough to slow it down, revealing the acid blood, which drips into his eyes. As the fight progresses, Supes is getting weaker and it's getting harder on him. Fortunately, however, he's soon saved by a Kryptonian woman who shoots the xenomorph, then lights it up with a flamethrower. Slinky Ugly, well done! Get it while it's hot!
The duck's burned! You're cooking in a burnt pan, you fucking dick!
She leads him away, warning him that there are a hell of a lot more
Gordon
of them.
Ramsay.
She's
Oh,
amazed
it's
by how
there.
he's seemingly immune from the acid blood, and he explains about the sunlight granting him power. She realizes he's not from the city. He must have come here in a ship. Yeah. A nice little detail
Yeah.
is that Clark's Kryptonian has an accent to her, a result of him not regularly speaking the language. He explains he's from Earth and that he got their distress buoy. You mean one of those things finally worked? Those were launched years ago. I don't suppose you kept it, did you?
How
One of
long
those
have you
goes
been
for
here?
hundreds on Space eBay. She explains that this is Argo City and that things have not been going great for them. Even aside from the xenomorphs, they ran out of supplies a while ago.
Argo
She finally
City.
gives her name as Kara. And yep, this is supposed to be Kara Zor-El,
Oh.
aka Supergirl. It's our last major bit
Of
of
course.
continuity connection to the regular books, namely that at the time, the policy was that Superman was the only survivor of Krypton.
Yeah, that was back then. They wanted Superman to be the only Kryptonian. So this Superman versus the aliens. This is an Elseworld story. This is an Elseworld story, so it's not canon. Elseworld stories are basically DC universes that happen in its own Earth in another universe. It's not connected to the main timeline, but exists in another continuity in the DC multiverse. And yeah, and I like the idea that James Gunn after the Flash movie is done, he's focused on the DC universe, the DC movie cinematic universe for James Gunn, and I hear that the Russo brothers are going to be involved too. That he's going to be focused on that. Everything else, like Teen Titans Go, which is I don't like that show. I don't. Not many people do not like that show. The Batman, Rob, Rob, Rob Paul, the Batman movie. You know what I'm talking about. Batman and Superman and Lois, and many other DC properties. There are Elseworld projects, including Joker 2. They can continue just separate from the DC universe that James Gunn is working on. And which gives the idea maybe Zack Snyder's vision of his DC universe can exist in an Elseworld, so it can continue somewhere else. I have people he's been trying to break. He did say he got plans for it.
It's why the trio he killed were Kryptonians from a pocket universe. The lack of Supergirl irked many writers over the years, so there were attempts to fill the hole, and it seems this was one way of doing so. Sure, it's a non-canon story, but hey, it was a cute way to modernize the backstory at the time and have Kara be present in some kind of then-modern context. And so our first part of this story ends with the revelation that the people Superman sent back on the ship aren't survivors any longer because chestbursters soon live up to their name inside the craft. This comic is overall okay, but the Batman one had a stronger start. The big
Right.
advantage it has over the
course
Batman
Batman would.
crossover is that it has 3 parts instead of just 2, so this first issue is focusing mostly on setup of the situation, of some of the principal characters, and what will be the big conflict. Superman needing to take on xenomorphs with dwindling powers, and the threat of xenomorphs approaching Earth by accident. But where it fails is that it's not as tense and scary as the Batman one. There's mystery certainly, and if this was an animated work, it'd probably be very easy to get sucked into a creepy atmosphere, But as
Pretty
it
much.
stands, I don't feel it quite does enough to illustrate the scariness of the situation, the vast
Right.
emptiness and dead feeling of it. As it stands, it's fine. Not terrible at all, despite a few things I've snarked on.
So it's just okay, basically. But Batman just made it more terrifying. Got it.
But it doesn't quite have the same mood. That might also just be because of the nature of a Superman story versus a Batman one. Supes was pulling his punches against the Xenomorph because he didn't want to kill a potentially intelligent alien life form, very well illustrated by bringing up the execution of the Pocket Universe Kryptonians. But because
Got it.
Superman is brightly colored and can take more punishment than Batman, there's just a bit less tension in the fight. Still, we're off to a decent beginning to the story,
that actually
and we
makes
will
sense.
return to it in the future. Next time, we were supposed to take a break for late night double feature, but that's gonna have to simmer in the background because of, well, more schedule slippages. Instead, let's go for an unusual but not unwelcome Patreon-sponsored review with the first Ace Attorney game.
Ooh, nice. And that's it. Atop the fourth wall.
This place was called Argo City. Argo? Yeah, that movie came out and everybody went wild for it. I prefer the original name, Beastmaster 2 Through the Portal of Time City.
Well, that was Superman versus Alien #1. Yep. It was all right. It was actually fine. It was all right. It was fine. Yeah, but I hope you enjoyed it, Nevin Punzel. Happy birthday. And that was Superman vs. Aliens atop the fourth wall. I look forward to see more videos. I like Linkara. I subscribe to his channel. Alright, that's enough said. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what were your thoughts about this Superman vs. Aliens story. In the comments below. Take care, have a great day, be safe, and most importantly, stay frosty and stay healthy out there. Catch you all later and make sure to wash your hands.
Special shout out to my following Patreons: Mario L. Lorobius, Jay the Real McCoy, Delgato Yulof, Daniel, Zach Cow, Bossmaker, Nevin Punzel, Curtis Wildcat, and Matthew Hensley. I appreciate your support. You guys are amazing, and if you guys want to be a member, you know what to do. Follow the description of being a Patreon member. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.
Here you go, friend.
Thanks. Cool costume.
Thanks. My mom made it for me.